Welcome to Signature TV News. I'm Charles Pius. First, the headlines. Enugu State Police Command parades 202 crime suspects. Protesters from Zamfara State storm EFCC to demand probe of the former governor, Bello Matawale. On the foreign scene, deadly explosion levels home in New Jersey. In sports, ex-Rangers players renew ties as they elect a new executive in Enugu. Now the news in detail. The Enugu State Police Command says it arrested 202 suspects for various crimes in the month of April 2024. Those arrested include 35 suspects for kidnapping and abduction, 29 for armed robbery, 25 for robbery and stealing, and 7 for homicide, while 20 persons were arrested for unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition. The Enugu State Commissioner of Police, Kanayo Uzwebu, who also paraded 4 suspects for rape and defilement, 37 for cultism, and 45 for alleged vandalism, said the successful arrests were made possible through the doggedness and dedication of his men and officers of the command. Uzwebu observed that the state has been relatively peaceful in the last 1 month and assured that the command would not allow men of the underworld to operate in the state. On the recent killings in some farming communities of Nimbo, Adani, Idodo, and other border communities in the state, the police commissioner assured citizens of the state that no stone will be left unturned to ensure peace and order in the state. Uzwebu noted that crime in Nigeria was largely imported, but assured that the police and other security agencies were committed reducing it to the barest minimum.
I will military and other security agencies and take measures to monitor and cope the area against all these unwanted attacks. And this I've done as a way to restore the confidence of all the farmers in Nigeria because they are protecting farmers. When it happened, I sent my operations to go there. Just listen to not anybody else. So what we do, like I told you, we collaborate with our partner in cooking, in Benue, against this crime.
A magistrate court sitting in Enugu State has granted bail to Ikenna Ezeazo, who is facing a 2-count charge of threats to life and breach of peace. The presiding magistrate of Enugu North Magistrates District Court 11, EID Abo, granted bail to the accused with a sum of 500,000 naira payable by a surety at level 12 in Enugu Civil Service should he abscond or jump bail. Ezeazo, who had pleaded not guilty to the allegations, was presented in court by the prosecuting counsel, Pius Elliott, over charges of threats to life of one Professor Uzochukwu, both of whom are lecturers in the Center for Environmental Management and Control, CEMAC, an affiliate of University of Nigeria, Enugu campus. The defense counsel to Ezeazo, Barrister Godwin Samuel Iriaka, while addressing journalists after the court's proceedings, expressed disappointment that a matter of that sort could be heard in a competent court of law.
We are told that threat of war, threat by word of mouth does not constitute an offense in law. But insofar as police has profiled this charge, during trial, many things will unfold. He never threatened him with a gun. He never threatened him with any offensive weapon. Alleged threat of life to kill. This is just to wash off their hands. If the matter had been settled there as they initially wanted to do, they would have alleged that police have taken money in order for police to wash off.
He appealed to the University of Nigeria Authority to wade into the matter and prefer lasting solution. The matter, however, has been adjourned to the 5th of June 2024. In March 14, 2024, Ezeazo had, through his solicitors, A.D. Igwenagu and Associates, had filed a complaint of abuse of office, high-handedness in public office, and blatant breach of rules of public engagement and the subversion of the policy of the university against Professor Uzochukwu before the University Authority, and up till now, nothing has been done. Media professionals and academics in Enugu State have called for conducive environment for journalists as the international community marks World Press Freedom Day. They, however, called for professionalism on the part of the practitioners for a better society. Correspondent Pius Charles has been looking at the role of the media in a contemporary society. Every day, journalists and media workers bravely exercise their freedom of expression, often at great personal risk. Independent fact-based journalism helps protect democracies by exposing injustices, holding leaders to account, and allowing citizens to make informed decisions. With elections taking place in over 60 countries in 2024 around the globe, the work of journalists becomes even more significant than ever. And as the international community marks yet another World Press Freedom Day, the environment under which the journalist carries out his duty comes into focus. The need to strike a balance between the freedom of the press and the responsibility that comes with wielding such powers is also of importance.
The idea of freedom, when we come to it, depends on the government in power. Let us say in Nigeria now, we're thinking about freedom of the press. Whether you like it or not, you're thinking about the concept of ownership. Any owner has a reason for owning. And the owner determines what should be done and how it should be done. And if you don't like his guidelines, you better leave. This is when I want to run my show. This is what I want to hear. Like in Nigeria now, my friend mentioned sometime the issue of insecurity in the country. Whether we like it or not, some people believe that some of these cases have been managed by some people in government. The speculation has been there. Nobody has tested it to say whether it's true or not. But some have a reason. Let it be here. Then you, as a free, disciplined journalist, you cannot say you won't be mindful of the reactions of government. You must respond to it because there are consequences.
In an era where information spreads like wildfire, journalists hold immense power to shape public opinion and influence societal change. But with this power comes great responsibility, a theme echoed globally on this World Press Freedom Day.
And today is a day has been set aside by the United Nations General Assembly as Freedom of Press Day. For us here in Nigeria, it means a lot. For those of us in the third world, it means a lot. The Nigerian Constitution, Section 39, freely expressed that people should have freedom of expression, freedom to hold thought, and freedom to impart thought. Section 22 specifically talked about the freedom of the press. And freedom of the press is fundamental in any democracy. For there to be a democratic nation, there must be freedom of the press. It may not be absolute, but people should be able to own media, express themselves, and hold government to account.
Journalists are the watchdogs of society entrusted with the crucial task of holding those in authority to account and ensuring transparency. However, in Nigeria, this responsibility has recently been called to question.
There was an encounter between the government and one of us who wrote something on his online platform, and the government didn't seem to like what he did, and the government, with the instrumentality of the law enforcement agencies, get him confined into a place. When we got to hear about it, we took to the streets, to the very place we knew our brother was, and at the end of the day, our actions worked out because we didn't quite see anything bad in what the guy wrote, but perception differs. When we talk about the freedom of press, we're also talking about that instrument of democracy, which we use to ensure that the voices of the people are heard. If the media is used to advance the voices of the people, as in the 1999 Constitution, Chapter 4, Section 39, that says every person shall be entitled to freedom of expression, including freedom to hold opinions, ideas, without interference.
In the age of social media and instant news, the line between fact and fiction has become increasingly blurred. Sensational headlines and clickbait tactics often overshadow thorough and responsible reporting.
If you want to ask me whether we are often subverted, we are. By power, by inducement, by threats. That happens. But I can tell you from personal experience over 50 years, most of the time it is we, as individuals, who decide not to do what is right. The constitutional guarantee is there. Oh yes, you will tell me the law, the courts will never, the police, all that, yes. What I have found in my experience is that when you stand on a certain moral framework and do your work, they usually can afford to ignore you. It will be too much trouble on them to pursue you.
The United Nations General Assembly declared May 3rd to be World Press Freedom Day to raise awareness on the importance of freedom of the press and remind governments of their duty to respect and uphold the right to freedom of expression enshrined under Article 19 of the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It also marks the anniversary of the Windhoek Declaration, a statement on the principles of a free press as put together by African newspaper journalists in Windhoek in 1991. The Enugu State government says it will buy off surplus products from farmers for preservation to cushion the effects of possible scarcity. The State Commissioner for Agriculture and Agro-Industrialization, Patrick Ubru, stated this during a tour of Oji River local government area following fears expressed by farmers about post-harvest losses. Ubru charged the farmers not to relent in embarking on massive farming of staple foods like cassava, yam, maize, rice, cashew, oil palm products, among others, maintaining that Enugu State has great potentials for the product. He also emphasized the need for the farmers to get registered to enable them get farm incentives from government, disclosing that government had acquired 150 tractors for distribution with only registered genuine farmers to benefit. The commissioner charged Oji River people to explore the potentials in their forests by clearing them for agriculture, since such forests constitute security threats as they serve as sanctuary for criminals. He also used the opportunity to advise communities in Enugu State to donate lands to the government for agricultural expansion. The African Development Bank, AFDB, and the federal government through the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security and the Ministry of Finance will be partnering with the Enugu State government in the development of special agro-industrial possession or processing zones in the state. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Economy, Wale Edun, who was represented by Dr. Akande Oyetola of the African Financial Institutions, led the team on a visit to the proposed over 1,000 hectares of land earmarked for the pilot project. Oyetola, who said the visit was a preparatory mission to ascertain the level of preparedness of the state government for the landmark project, commended the state for its readiness for the special processing zone. He observed that having provided over 1,000 hectares of land for the kickoff with access roads to the farmland, Enugu State has met a good number of the conditions which each state is expected to fulfill before the intervention of other partners in the development of the agro-processing zones. Their mission to the state, according to him, is to ascertain what Enugu State has in place to propel the bank to disburse funds for the project, as well as needed infrastructure, and expressed satisfaction with what they found on ground. The traditional ruler of Owo community in Kano East local government area of the state, Igwe Okeke Arum, assured the visiting team that his people had already embraced the initiative and are willing to donate additional land if required to ensure the success of the project and guarantee food security in the country. The State Commissioner for Agriculture and Agro-Industrialization, Patrick Ubru, who was accompanied by some senior state government officials, said the special agro-industrial processing zone was in line with Governor Peter Mba's mission to end hunger and eradicate poverty in the state. He disclosed that the state government is already constructing a 40-kilometer dual carriageway from Owo Ubahu, Amang Kanu, Neke Ikem Obulo, linking Enugu State to the north central, and has equally done the access roads to the over 1,000 hectares of land. The governor of Abia State, Alex Oti, has approved the constitution of a Security Advisory Council and Security Trust Fund for the state. A statement released on Friday issued by the governor's chief press secretary, Kazie Uko, said the former chief of army staff, retired Lieutenant General Azubike Henjirika, is the chairman of the Advisory Council. The governor of Abia State, Alex Oti, has approved the constitution of a Security Advisory Council and Security Trust Fund for the state. Members of the newly constituted Security Advisory Council include Uche Ivy Okoronkwo, Ray Nkemdirim, retired Major General Abel Umahi, retired Air Vice Marshal Emmanuel Chukwu, while retired Navy Commander MacDonald Uba is to serve as secretary. Governor Oti also appointed Chief Stanley Obiamarije as the chairman of the Security Trust Fund, with Greg Okafor, Ngozi Ekeoma, Johnson Chukwu, Josephine Nweze, Mrs. Nkechi Obi, and Mr. Bank Anthony Okurafo. The appointments take immediate effect. The campaign for the use of organic inputs in farming appears to be gaining momentum. Signature Television was at Awka, the Anambra State capital, where the benefits were highlighted far and above chemical inputs.
Anambra State's Commissioner for Agriculture, Chief Foster Ihediofor, says the state government welcomes use of organic inputs in farming across the state. The commissioner was speaking in his office while receiving in audience members of the state's branch of the African Asian Cooperative Society. Commissioner Ihediofor regretted the enormity of harm done to the ecosystem by use of chemicalized farm inputs. He commended the initiative of the AAC in transiting to the era of food production without harmful chemicals, like certain fertilizer and storage facilities.
The foundation of food starts with primary production, the fuel crop production, the animal, rearing. So we need to get it right at that foundation. And what you are doing in AAC is interesting, that China that has flooded the world with toxic agri-chemical is also now spearheading the championing, as it were, the transition to regenerative agriculture, which is indeed, in essence, agriculture, nature's way. And when we prioritize the role of biology, we find out that we have been abusing nature's setup. When you use chemistry the way we've been using it, we degrade the biology of the soil.
Earlier, the Anambra State branch coordinator of AAC Farmers Multipurpose Cooperative Society, Honorable Ifeanyi Njelita, had asked the state government to allow the group to demonstrate the efficacy of the production and preservative nanotech organic products they have come up with. Honorable Njelita, who applauded the innovation of regenerative agriculture that Professor Chukwuma Soludo-led administration is executing, called for more collaboration between the AAC Farmers Multipurpose Cooperative Society and the government. A member of the group, who also runs an NGO charged with spreading the message of agricultural value chains in communities, Comrade Mark Odogu, said the nation can defeat hunger, experience economic boom, and enjoy robust health if only able-bodied young men and women could buy into real-time agricultural practices.
Protesters from Zamfara State on Friday occupied the entrance to the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, asking the anti-graft agency to reopen investigations on the former governor of the state, Bello Matawalle. The protesters, under the auspices of APC Loyalists Forum, occupied the entrance to the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, said all petitions against the governor should be investigated. This includes the alleged contract diversion up to the tune of 70 billion naira during his tenure as governor of the state. The EFCC Director of Public Affairs, Wilson Owojaren, who received the protest letter on behalf of the chairman, assured the protesters that the EFCC is determined to pursue every corruption case to a logical conclusion. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, has said that the huge purchase of foodstuffs by the government as palliatives is contributing to the galloping food inflation in the country. Cardoso made the remark in a statement published on the website of the Apex Bank. The committee had said that its hawkish stance was to tackle inflation. The country's inflation rate accelerated to 33.2% in March, with the food inflation rate reaching 40.01%, a year-on-year increase of 15.56 percentage points from 24.45% in March 2023. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the surge in food inflation could be attributed to rising prices for items such as gari, millet, yam tuber, water yam, and others. Following the removal of fuel subsidy, the federal government approved 5 billion naira for each estate and federal capital territory to enable them to procure food items for distribution to the poor in the respective states. On the foreign scene, emergency services and residents started to clear up the damage left by severe weather in southwestern parts of Germany on Friday morning after overnight thunderstorm and heavy rainfall left many streets and basements flooded. Several sunny days and summer temperatures followed by thunderstorms hitting the city of Frankfurt and surrounding regions from late Thursday, with up to 50 liters of rain per square meter coming down within a few hours in some places. Weather will largely calm down in southwest Germany on Friday. However, individual thunderstorms with heavy rain and storms are possible from Saturday evening. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan waded into the debate over U.S. college campus protests on Thursday, saying authorities were displaying cruelty in clamping down on pro-Palestinian students and academics. Demonstrations have spread on campuses across the United States over Israel's conduct of the war in Gaza, prompting police crackdowns and arrests at some venues such as Columbia University in New York. Erdogan told an event in Ankara that the conscientious students and academics, including anti-Zionist Jews at some prestigious American universities, are protesting the massacre in Gaza and wondered why such people should be subjected to violence, cruelty, suffering, and even torture for saying that the massacre should stop. Turkey has sharply criticized Israel's assault on Gaza and what it calls the unconditional support it receives from Western countries. The U.S. is top supplier of military aid to Israel and has shielded the country from critical United Nations votes. A deadly explosion leveled a home in South River, New Jersey on Thursday night, resulting in the loss of at least one life. Authorities say emergency responders, including the fire department, arrived at the scene to swiftly contain the fire and secure the area. The impact of the explosion extended throughout the cul-de-sac, with every neighboring from home experiencing damage. Authorities are still trying to establish the cause of the explosion. President Joe Biden has said that freedom of speech and the rule of law must be respected in protests at college campuses over the war in Gaza. Biden, who made the remarks at the White House, explained that the U.S. is not an authoritarian nation where people are silenced. Neither is it a lawless country, insisting that order must prevail. In response to a reporter's question, Biden said that the campus protests had not forced him to reconsider his policies in the Middle East. Escalating campus protests are forcing President Biden to walk a careful line of denouncing anti-Semitism while supporting young Americans' rights to protest and trying to limit longer-term political damage. As violence, police crackdowns, and counter-protests greet spreading demonstrations across the U.S. campuses, Biden faces sharp criticism of his Israel policy from both the left and right. Students at dozens of schools have rallied on or camped out in recent days to oppose Israel's war in Gaza, demanding institutions stop doing business with companies that support the war. Local officials say more than 34,000 people have died in Gaza after attacks by Israel in retaliation for Hamas' October 7 assault that Israel says killed 1,200. Police in Paris entered France's prestigious Sciences Po University on Friday and removed student activists who had occupied its building in protest against Israel's conduct in its war against Hamas in Gaza. Witnesses say police went into the buildings and took out many of the 70-odd protesters inside. Unlike in some college campuses across the United States, the French protests have been peaceful and there were no signs of violence as the students were brought out of the buildings. Sciences Po has become the epicenter of French students' protests over the war and academic ties with Israel, which have spread across France but have remained much smaller in scale than those seen in the United States. The university was closed for the day on Friday with a heavy police presence around its main building. A Sciences Po spokesperson speaking before the police intervention said the university was seeking a negotiated solution to end the standoff, with its students and that some of its satellites campuses in Reims, Le Havre, and Poitiers were also affected by protests. A bus veered into a ravine in Pakistan's far north early on Friday, killing 20 passengers while 21 injured were rescued and taken to the hospital. A local government spokesperson said the bus was headed to the mountainous northern area of Gilgit-Baltistan from the garrison city of Rawalpindi in Pakistan's eastern province of Punjab when the accident happened in the early hours. According to the spokesperson, the government immediately launched a rescue operation to evacuate all the injured who were taken to hospital. Fatal road accidents are common in Pakistan, where traffic rules are rarely followed and roads in many rural areas are in poor condition. On entertainment, popular actress Lola Alao, who relocated to Canada, has stressed that even though she had no regrets along the way, she wished that she had learned a trade before her move. She also detailed how a patient who had dementia called for her and slapped her when she got close to her. She stated that after the incident, she decided that the caregiver job was not for her and quit the gig. She said that she had battered and clothed the patient when she started to complain about her hearing, but when she went to check on her to see what was wrong, she gave her a hard slap that made her cry. She further said that she always advised people looking to relocate to learn a skill or a trade because when she first arrived to Canada, she had to learn a course to become a caretaker. She revealed that she went to school for a full year and one day during her time caring for the elderly one of the patients slapped her. Alao went on to open her boutique where she sold clothes after quitting her caregiver job. Nollywood veteran Wale Ojo will play famous Nigerian writer Wale Soyinka in a film adaptation of one of the latter's most famous books, The Man Died. The memoir chronicles Soyinka's thoughts when the government held him as a political prisoner during the Nigerian Civil War in the late 1960s. Soyinka published the autobiographical work in 1972, 2 years after the war ended. He made history when he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1986, the first sub-Saharan African to win it. On Soyinka's 89th birthday last July, Ojo hailed the playwright as a rare icon. Akinwade Oluwole Babatunde Soyinka is 89 years old today. The film adaptation of The Man Died features Nollywood stars Chidi Mokeme, Sam Dede, Norbert Young, Francis Nwochie, Edmond Nenabe, and Shegilola Oginda. Others are Semilola Hassan, Christiana Oshuni, and newcomer Abraham Amba. The film is produced by Femi Odubemi and written by Bode Ashinyobi. The Man Died will be released to coincide with Soyinka's 90th birthday in July. The Nobel laureate's deaths and The King's Horseman, published in 1975, was similarly adapted into the 2022 Netflix film Election Oba, The King's Horseman, featuring Odunlade Adekola, Shefi Bello, Demi Okunlawo, Omowumi Dada, and Jide Kosoko. Soyinka's other notable works include The Lion and the Jewel, 1959, The Trials of Brother Jero, 1960, and The Years of Childhood, 1981, and You Must Set Forth at Dawn, 2006. In sports, boosted by the absence of favourites Russia, other teams like Ukraine and France will be aiming for the podium in artistic swimming at the Paris Olympic Games. The countries and other leading nations will have the chance to further refine their routines at the recently completed Olympic Aquatics Center, with the French capital hosting the second leg of the World Aquatics Artistic Swimming World Cup. Russian athletes are allowed to take part in individual events under a neutral banner on condition that they have not supported Russia's invasion of Ukraine or are not under contract to the Russian army. As the saying goes, the old soldiers never die. That was exactly the scene when former Rangers players under the aegis of ex-Rangers International Footballers Association gathered in Enugu. The high point of the event was the election of a new executive to pilot the affairs of the body for the next 3 years. Signaturetv captured it all.
Ex-Rangers International Footballers Association has elected a new executive to pilot its affairs for the next 3 years. At a keenly contested election held in Enugu, Austin Igwokolo emerged as the new chairman of the association after pulling 29 votes to narrowly defeat Donald Ago, who got 28 votes. Other elected officers include Jude Agada, who was returned as treasurer. Joe Nwafo emerged as the financial secretary, while Napoleon Handsome is the assistant secretary, among others. The electoral officer, Victor Oko, who applauded the process as free and fair, commended members for keeping the Rangers spirit alive during the elections. Oko recalled the role played by that generation of Rangers players in boosting the Igbo spirit and the reintegrating the Igbo nation into Nigerian society after the Nigerian Civil War. He appealed to the Enugu State Governor, Peter Mba, to give priority attention to the welfare of old Rangers players to encourage the present crop of players to give out their best.
He should, once in a while, look their way to know exactly what they need. Some of us are not strong enough, some are strong, some are still earning, doing something worthwhile to earn a living to take care of the family. We have a lot of them that have ailments and they don't have work, and let's look inwardly as the governor of the state to see what we can do about it.
In his acceptance speech, the new chairman of the association, Austin Igwokolo, assured that his tenure will ensure improvement in the welfare of members.
There is something we know. There is something that people know us for. There's a place we started from that gave us the name. I tell you, if it's not football, we won't be celebrating Christian MFA. If it's not football, we can't celebrate all of it. It is football that made us to celebrate these great men that are gathered here today.
Some pioneer players of Rangers International, including Emma Okala and Chairman Christian Chukwu, who were in attendance, spoke to Signaturetv.
To God be the glory. You stated the obvious. It was transparent, peaceful, and peace-free. And we thank God.
It's a family something. Nobody wins, nobody loses. It's family. Just want to bring out somebody to be at the head.
The occasion provided an avenue for the ex-Rangers International footballers to interact and share their experiences. Indeed, these were legends of the Igbo nation who deserve to be celebrated at all times, especially now that they are still alive. Rangers never say die.
And that's the size of the package. I'm Charles Pius. Have a great weekend.